Welcome back to Wave Listens Live. Joining me now is Lindsay Fleming, Senior Vice President of Elder Advisors. Joining her today, again, here on Listens Live, Allison Cooper of Cooper Law. It's a pleasure to have both of you on the show here today.
So glad to be here. Thanks. We're bringing out a little girl power today.
Yeah,
we're kind of excited about it.
We're talking about girl power, but we're also talking about why willpower isn't always enough.
Yeah, we're talking about wills today, which is why I brought Allison. She's a phenomenal attorney. But when we talk about, estate planning, kind of the simplest way to do it, right, is a will. And I think people think that the will is going to work one way, and that's not really how it works. So willpower is not always enough. A will is not always enough as it pertains to your estate. So
yeah, and because what a will lead to a lot of times, is my understanding, is probate, and probate's not always a fun process, which is why I have some respect for lawyers that have to deal with that. So Allison, thank you for dealing with some of the most difficult parts of someone's life and making it a little bit easier on them. So first of all, just a little acknowledgement before the question, which is, what is probate? What does that mean, and how does it sometimes get to a point where you really kind of wish you just didn't have to do it?
Yeah, well, I don't think anybody really enjoys probate. So the goal for most people is to avoid it. Now, probate, what it is, for people who aren't aware, it is the legal process of administering your will if you have a will, and if you don't have a will, it follows the state statute of administering your assets and your liabilities. So it is the wrap-up of your financial life. A will is the document that will tell people will tell the court what you want to have happen. And I lost track of your actual question.
I asked a long question.
So probate, and I want her to talk a little bit more about that, but I think fundamentally what's important for Kentuckiana to understand is that a will equals probate, right? And I think some people just think, well, it's a will and I have a will, so we're all just going to, when I pass away, my family will get together and they'll just read it and distribute it. That's not the case. A will actually has to be read in the court with the judge. It's a very public process. So I think talk a little bit about, Allison, about why probate is so sticky and something to be avoided.
So probate, people generally want to avoid it for three reasons. It's a public process. Anything that goes through the probate court becomes public record, and anybody can go to the clerk's office and pull your record and find out who inherited what. So it's a very invasive process. It's time consuming. They can last years. And then it's also expensive. Most people will hire lawyers, sometimes accountants, sometimes other experts, especially if there's conflict in the family. And if it's going through probate, there probably is going to be some conflict at some level. The question is how much conflict. But those are generally the three reasons people try and avoid probate.
And even if you think there's not going to be conflict, like Lindsay says all the time, you're not necessarily doing this planning or pre-planning for your estate for yourself. You're doing it so it's not messy after. No matter how good you think your relationship is with your kids or how good your kids' relationships are with one another, the loss of a parent can lead to a lot of different, trauma that could lead to a lot of different, fights.
And we've had several different, we've had several clients that are going through the probate process, and they're like, I don't want to do this. So adult children are going through, and it's like, I don't want to do this. So Larry steps in and is like the executor of the will to make sure everything goes. But the kids don't want to do that because they have to take off work. They have to go to the BMV. They have to go to the bank. They have to go do these. It is time consuming. And so there's ways to avoid probate altogether. And, it's estate planning, and it's going a little bit deeper than a will. But what all of our clients find with the attorneys that we work with it's usually less expensive than probate, and it's a very empowering process, a simple and empowering process.
And it's very important for what you guys do, because you are trying to make sure that it's the best result possible for everyone for that planning process. It's as simple as visiting elderadvisors.com or calling 855-LARRY55. Even when Larry's not here, he's still getting a shout out.
The phone number still rings.
855-LARRY55. You're able to work with that, and you guys work with incredible attorneys that do this every day, and you're able to make a sticky situation maybe a little smoother.
And the thing is that if you don't do anything, you have a plan anyway. So the state's going to tell you what to do with your stuff. So if you've done a will, it may be time to call and come in and do something a little bit more. And if you've not done anything, it's surely time to come in, because you do not want the state of Indiana or Kentucky to tell your kids what they're getting, where, and when. You want to control that. So it starts with a phone call.
And no matter what people think they know about things in general, I definitely am guilty of just assuming that I know how something works. Something that's serious, maybe I don't think about it all the time, but then you guys are dealing with it every day. When somebody gets in that situation, we've heard you talking about it before, they just don't know what to do. Like they think like, oh, if I'm in that situation, like I'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can't just figure it out. It doesn't happen, but you guys are dealing with this every day. You're in court, every day. You're planning every day.
And it's the thing is so much of it can be, the first consultation is absolutely free, and it's 45 minutes to an hour. 45 minutes to an hour to all this headache, years of probate and all of this stuff can just really be avoided in 45 minutes to an hour. First consultation, it's free. It's so easy. It's so stinking easy.
You
It's
might not
so
walk
easy.
out with a full
It's so easy.
plan, like a full estate plan, but you'll walk out with maybe an idea of where some of those problems already live and where they could arise.
100%.
So, and I think the legal component of that is big too, because when you get into that legal component, well, sorry, it might be too late. Maybe that's more work for Allison, so like good for you there, but I know that's ultimately not what you want for the people that you're working with.
And the importance of working with phenomenal attorneys are working with attorneys that aren't like cleaning up the messes, right? Allison is super proactive with her clients. And, we've both been doing this long enough that we know, like, this is what we see. Like, we're sitting across from somebody and it's like, we see the red flags and kind of the smoke where families don't see it. And so she's so phenomenal in working with families proactively. And that's the kind of attorney you want on your side.
Yeah, and you want someone who's wants it's the best for you, not necessarily the best for them. Clearly,
100%.
That's what Allison is. So thank you both for joining us here today on this Girl Power edition of Listens Live. ElderAdvisors.com. Call 855-LARRY-55. Get Larry on the phone. Get Lindsay on the phone, and they'll help you with your estate planning and pre-planning especially. Thank you so much. We'll be right back with more Listens Live after the break.